Get off my land right now." That's the first thing I ever heard out of Cordelia Hargrove's mouth, the kind of screech that could strip paint off a barn. Picture this, I'm standing in the golden light minding my business with my survey gear when here comes this woman, heels sinking into the mud, hair perfect, face twisted up like she just found a snake in her kitchen. And honest to God, her perfume hit me before her words did, like someone dumped a bottle of Chanel on a lawnmower. Yeah, that happened. I'm Holden Merrick, 39, ex-Army EOD, the guy they called when something went boom and nobody else wanted to get close. 11 years of that, and now I chase quieter explosives, unstable soils, old boundary lines, water tables that don't want to be found. 3 weeks back, I bought 2 overgrown acres by a lake, thinking maybe it was time to settle down, grow roots instead of dodging landmines. County records were clean, no covenants, no HOA, just a patch of woods and the promise of quiet. That didn't sit well with Cordelia. She marched right up, shoved a clipboard in my face and said, "You're on Lakeside Estates HOA property." Her voice was low practiced, but her eyes were all fight. Behind her, a black SUV idled with the door hanging open like she couldn't wait to jump back in and make a getaway. She rattled off some nonsense about 50 meters from the lake being their domain, waving official-looking papers at me stamped up with swans and bold red letters, "Violation Notice." I pulled out my phone, flipped it to record, because if you've learned anything in my shoes, it's that documentation wins more battles than fists ever will. North Carolina's a one-party consent state, I told her. You want to threaten me on my own land, that's your choice. But I'm keeping the receipts. You should have seen the look on her face when I said that. A flicker of panic, like maybe she wasn't used to people knowing their rights. I kept it simple. My land stops 15 meters before your house. No easement, no restrictions, and certainly no HOA. She wasn't hearing it. "You're making a mistake," she said, clutching that clipboard like it was a sword. "We have lawyers, and we enforce our standards. Ignore us, and life gets difficult." That's when I really looked at her house. A glass palace with jet skis on the dock. All of it, just a little too perfect. 4 houses in her little HOA, not some sprawling suburban empire. Just 4. Turns out Cordelia's kingdom was more bark than bite. I told her I wasn't paying any bogus fees and I'd follow the law, not her rule book. She leaned in real quiet and said, "People who don't cooperate here find life very difficult." Let me back up a sec. When someone threatens you on your own land, it feels less like neighborly concern and more like a warning shot. She spun on her heel, nearly toppled, and stormed back to her SUV, gravel flying as she peeled off. That's when I knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Next morning, I show up to find violation notices everywhere on my gate, the trees, even the stakes I'd set out. Cease and desist legal action fines climbing to $2,000 a week, printed up like government mail, but smelling suspiciously like Office Depot. I took photos of everyone, checked the GPS stamps, filed them away. Then I got online and dug deep. No HOA registry with the state, no deed restrictions on my land, not so much as a legal toe in the water. I called the county clerk, a woman named Patricia, who double-checked everything. "Mr. Merrick, your property is not part of Lakeside Estates. No restrictions. You're clear." I asked, "What if someone's posting fake violation notices and demanding money?" She didn't even hesitate. "That's concerning. If it continues, you might want to involve the sheriff. You know what I mean?" Some folks just can't stand losing control. The real fun started when Cordelia came back, this time with muscle. A guy in his 20s, all puffed up in a shirt that said HOA security. I clicked my body cam on, kept my phone out for good measure. She tried to run the same script. "You're illegally disturbing the land." "We have evidence." I just looked her dead in the eye. "Evidence of what your HOA isn't even registered, and the county already verified my deed." She played it cool, said they operated under community agreement, fancy talk for making it up as you go. Her security guy threatened to escort me off my own land. I kept filming. "You want to escalate this, be my guest." I'll welcome the chance to show a judge how far you've stretched your authority." They backed off, but the threat was clear. This wasn't about property. It was about power. That's when I started building my own wall of evidence. Photos, emails, every last scrap. I even booked a consult with a real estate lawyer. You don't survive 11 years disarming bombs by leaving things to chance. I set up cameras, reinforced my locks, and posted no trespassing signs with statute numbers. For a couple days, nothing, just wildlife and wind. Then while I was away on a job, my camera caught two strangers in a silver SUV. They cut my lock, drove in, and staked out the property with bright orange markers, labeled HOA boundary. I wasn't home, but I sure as hell had them on tape. Called the sheriff the minute I saw it. Deputy Walsh showed up, took notes, ran the plates. He said, "This is clear trespassing. Keep documenting, call us if they come back." I sent everything to my lawyer, one more brick in the case. The next twist, I confronted Cordelia directly, told her I had proof camera footage evidence the works. She tried to gaslight me, said her husband's company had sent legitimate surveyors. But the more I pressed, the more her story unraveled. Turns out the fence I planned to build would cut right through a strip of her precious backyard, 2 meters of lawn, patio, even part of her garden shed, all sitting on land she never legally owned. She'd been squatting on county easement and pretending it was hers. There's your twist right there. So I hired a crew, building permit in hand. The foreman walked the line with me, said, "This is going to sting." I told him, "Just follow the survey." At dawn, the post went in, and sure enough, here came Cordelia shrieking bloody murder about her yard, her property, her 15 years of gardening. She tried calling the cops. Sheriff Brennan himself rolled up, checked my paperwork, asked for her survey. She didn't have one. He looked at the county GIS, nodded to me, and said, "He's within his rights. Ma'am, interfering with construction is a crime." But she wasn't done. That night my power cut out. I found fresh footprints by the electrical box, lock busted, breaker flipped. Checked the camera, there she was. Cordelia herself, crowbar in hand, flipping switches in the dark like she was on a mission. Her security guy showed up too, poked around, left just as quick. I called the sheriff again. 3rd time's the charm. But Cordelia still didn't quit. The next morning I got a fake email threatening a $50,000 lawsuit if I didn't tear down the fence. My lawyer called it what it was, textbook extortion. Then I found a forged building permit taped to my new fence, the boundaries edited with Photoshop, and a fake county stamp. I took it straight to the county office. The clerk took one look and said, "This is a crime. Report it immediately." So I did. And then came the last stand. 4 men in bogus uniforms rolled up in black trucks, HOA enforcement printed across their backs, looking like they just walked off a movie set. Clipboard, crowbars, the works. They tried to intimidate me, told me to step aside so they could tear down my fence. I asked for a court order. Nothing. Sheriff Brennan arrived with lights flashing, deputies on either side. He shut them down cold. "You're trespassing. Leave now, or I arrest every one of you." Cordelia watched from the hill, filming everything, hoping for a win. Instead, Brennan called her down, took her statement, then turned to me for the body cam footage. I showed him the whole thing, start to finish. Her husband showed up, panicked. "What did you do, Cordelia?" She shot back. "I was protecting our property," but Brennan wasn't buying it. He read her rights, cuffed her, and walked her to the patrol car while half the neighborhood watched. The charges came 8 days later: trespass, vandalism, forgery, impersonating legal authority, extortion, obstruction, and conspiracy. 7 count serious time. At the hearing, the DA, Young Sharp, called my evidence prosecutorial gold. Cordelia's lawyer argued she meant well, the judge wasn't having it. Concern doesn't erase criminal intent. Probable cause on all counts. In the end, Cordelia took a plea, fines, probation, community service, a restraining order, and most important, felony convictions that'll follow her a lot longer than any HOA rulebook. She stood up in court, voice shaking, said, "I thought I was protecting something. I was wrong. I'm sorry." She never looked at me. 6 months later, my cabin was a real home, solar garden, windows catching the sunrise. The neighbors who bought Cordelia's place We're the kind you want, kind, honest, just looking for some peace. We traded cookies, swapped lake stories, talked about wildflowers, not lawsuits. One evening, Cordelia's ex-husband came by, hands in his pockets, voice soft. "I'm sorry I didn't stop her sooner," he said. "She wasn't always like that." We shook hands, two men finally on the same side of the fence. Now, when I sit on my porch, coffee in hand, I think about boundaries not just on a map, but in life. There are folks who push, who bully, who test how much you'll bend, but you don't have to fight with fists or shout to hold your ground. Sometimes the best revenge is just standing firm, letting the facts speak, and watching the law do its work. So let me ask you, where would you draw the line? Would you stand your ground? Or let someone bulldoze your boundaries? Drop your stories in the comments. And if you know someone who'd love a good twist, share this video with them. Because sometimes justice isn't about who shouts loudest. It's about who keeps the receipts, who stands steady, and who remembers peace is found on your side of the fence.